Hey YouTubers, Tio here with Simplistic Fishing. Hey, today we are on video number 3 of a 6-part series for Cedar Creek Reservoir. Today we're going to dive into the Google Earth waypoints for Zone 2. That's going to be the middle of the lake. If you missed part 1 of this whole series and part 2, I'll put some links up top so you can look at them, but let's dive into this thing. I got some good stuff for you, and as always, I'm willing to share these waypoints. You just got to stick around and watch the video.
All right, so let's get started on zone 2. So again, this would be zone 2. I'm going to pull back here. This is zone 2, right? We talked about zone 1 in the last video. If you missed that video, just click the link up to the top. It's there. I've also got a playlist for all my lake breakdowns, and you'll find it there as well. And then our next video that we'll be posting after we do the navionics for zone 2, we'll be moving over to zone 3. That's the lower portion of the lake. So lots of good stuff coming. So with that being said, let's dive into zone 2 here. And let's start on the western side of the lake. So just like we did last time, I'm going to mark anytime I see boat ramps. I'm going to mark anytime I see rocks, especially on these Texas lakes. And then I'll mark points, I'll mark structure, I'll mark brush piles, pretty much anything that looks like a fish might be attracted to it. So we got a lot to cover. Cedar Creek has so many boat docks and so many things in the water. You'll see that I just have a lot of waypoints to share with you guys. So here we go. Let's start on the west side. So on this part right here, there were some rocky shorelines right here by these docks. We also had some good rock around this dock, you can see. We also have some shallow water rocks here, so this might be more of a springtime thing, you know, as they're moving into these pockets. These shallow rocks can sometimes really generate some good bites for you. You also have some rocky shoreline here by this dock, and then you've got a nice boat ramp here. Boat ramps are always good to fish, and if you look at this boat ramp particularly, it actually has some pretty decent depth to it. If you look at it in a more current image, that boat ramp comes way out here, so it could be a really good spot to check out, especially come springtime. A couple other areas to focus on would be this boat ramp here. This is, again, very similar to that one. Anytime I see a boat ramp, I'm always going to go fish it. We've also got some rocks here that look like they have a little bit of depth on them in this rock. And basically this entire shoreline that you'll see here basically has rocks along that entire shoreline to about right in there, and then it changes. You've also got a boat ramp that's hidden in here. You can't really tell. It's got a really good drop off. Look at the drop off from this boat ramp. Fish are going to be attracted to there. And if we look at it with a more current image, you wouldn't even know that was there. So really good spot. People probably drive right past that, cast right past it, all that good stuff. But you won't anymore because you have these waypoints, right? All right, so moving on down, we're going to go to this point. We've got nice rocks off this point as well. Definitely could be a good area to take a look at. You also got a boat ramp that's buried way back in here. When we go into navionics, we might find that that's actually a creek. A lot of these are hard to tell because they've dug out a lot of these, so I can't tell if they're creeks that have actually made these coves or if these are just like man-made coves that they put in here. But there is a boat ramp back here, so I would definitely check it out. It looks like it might actually connect through here, maybe like an old road possibly, and those are always good areas to check out too. And by the way, my favorite dock right there, look at that top of that dock. That is beautiful, beautiful flag of Texas. All right, so moving on down, we got a brush pile here in this little cove. Nice little secret area, probably boat or dock owner put that out there. That looks like a good place to check out. So nice brush pile there. You've also got some patchy rock along this entire bank line right here. It actually moves down, I think, to about the edge of that dock, and then it ends. You got some additional rock as well off of this point. Got some more rock here that's shallow, and then you've got additional rock off of this point. So this whole area really just had a lot of scattered rock and things like that. So if you're just pounding the bank line, looking to catch up, catch those few keepers there at the end, this could be probably a really good bank line to take a look at. You've also got a few more rocks here. This one was a little bit interesting because it has a little jetty that comes out. And it looks like this must be some type of a boat dock. But if we look at this on a more current image, it's totally buried. You can't tell those rocks are there. My guess is that's probably got some decent depth to it. You got some rock here, and you got a good little ledge over here on the other side of this dock. I would say this is probably a pretty good area to be fishing. You've also got some additional rock that move on down that bank line, and then you get over here to the point. Once you get off that point, you'll see the light rock that's on that point. Then really we just got a couple different little coves in here. I didn't really see anything special in any of this, but I did notice here we've got an old boat ramp that's right here. So that's always a good area to focus on. And then I've also noticed there was a boat ramp back in here that could be an old boat ramp as well, or not boat ramp, but an old roadbed. So those are always good areas to take a look at. Then moving on down, there's another old boat ramp that was back in this cove. You can see here. Then we've also got rocks around this point. So there's a lot back in here that's just basically just mud. But every once in a while you'd find these rocks, and I guarantee you that if you see these rocks, it's probably a good place to look. And then see right here, this little boat ramp comes in, like a boat owner's boat ramp. You got one here. I would say really all in this area is probably a good spot to take a look at. And you got a little point there too to fish off of. So definitely probably a good area to take a look at. Additional boat ramps up here, hidden underneath this tree. There's a boat ramp. You can barely see it. And then you've got some really good rocks that are right off the south side of this point that look really good. So definitely take a look at that. All right, so moving on down, and hey, if you don't have time to finish this video, I do want to throw this out here. I am willing to share these waypoints. All you need to do is just hit that subscribe button for me if you haven't already, and then just send me a message at Simplistic Fishing with your email address, and I will send you the zone that you're looking for. You just let me know. If you want all three of them, just tell me that as well. But really look forward to hearing from you guys. All right, so moving on. Got some good rocks off this point as well. You've also got a nice break wall that's right here. These break walls will produce fish. I mean, don't be scared to go around them and fish up against them. They like to get up against them and ambush their prey, so that's always a good spot. And then really, if you look in here, this could be some shell beds or something right in here, so I would definitely take a look at that area. Very good area to take a look at. Nice point there as well. Then if you get back in here by this marina, there's a little boat ramp in there. Not sure if you'd want to fish or not. I've actually launched there, but anytime there's a boat ramp, we're going to fish it just like I said before. We've also got a boat ramp tucked way back in there. Other than that, I didn't really see too much that was back in there that really caught my eye. So let's move on down south. Now we're finding some more ramps here. You got an old boat ramp that's buried in the back of this cove. Again, if we look at this on just when the lake is full, you can't really tell that ramp is even there, but there's an old boat ramp there. You've also got an old boat ramp that's right here beside this dock that you can't even tell. This could be a roadbed as well. Sometimes these ramps look like roadbeds. This one almost looks like a roadbed that maybe it goes through here. I'm not sure. You also got some rocks off of that point. You've also got a really nice large rock pile here off of this point. It looks like they built this for this dock. That could produce some pretty good fish. I like how it's right off the edge of this point. That gives them some good areas to set around and ambush. And look at that, I mean, it's buried really good in there. So I really like it. There's also another rocky point right off the other side, a rock pile or rocky area right off the other side. So good areas to look there. You've got more rocks here. And then the dock owner here apparently built a new dock and maybe left the old dock there and left some debris there, but you can definitely tell there's some debris in the water. And even when you look at it currently, you can tell that debris is still there. So that's always a good area. Anytime there's debris in the water, you always want to check that out. So I would check that out as well. You've also got some rocks and some debris that are back behind these docks in here. So basically just the shoreline from about right there to about right there is what I would fish. Then I'd probably skip on and maybe go down here to where there's some more scattered rock. So then moving on down into this pocket, we do have an old boat ramp that's here. We've got some rocks that are right around this little secondary point here, so that could be a good area to fish. We've also got light rocks that are around this point, so maybe just fish just the area of the point where the rocks are from here, maybe to right there, and then move on. You've also got more rocky shoreline here, just a little patch of it right there, and you've got a nice boat ramp that's tucked back in here too. So really this side, it didn't really have too many things as far as brush piles and things like that I saw, but it definitely had a lot of boat ramps, and it definitely had a lot of areas where there's rock. We've actually won some tournaments just focusing on just rocky shorelines, so it's definitely something you want to take a look at. We've also put together some really decent bags just running boat ramps on the lake, so take a look at it. I'm not crazy, I promise you, it'll produce you some fish. All right, we've also got some riprap and some bigger rock coming down here alongside the dam. So we've got some, definitely, anytime you see that, as long as you can get to it, I don't know where their markers are here that block you off, but if you can get to that, I would definitely fish it. Same thing over here. You've also got some rock that's buried in behind this dock here. And then you've got some pretty good scattered, bigger, chunkier rock right off of this point. So definitely a good area, again, to take a look at. Rocks along this point. You got another boat ramp in here. You got more rocks over here by this dock. You got even more rocks that are further down here. So most people are going to pull up on the point and say, oh, there's no rocks on that point, or maybe there's very few. Doesn't look like there's any. But if you went down just a little bit, there's your rock pile that you want to fish right there. Just that one little zone could be a great zone, could be the zone that gets you the fish that you need. So take a look at those rock piles. More rocks around this point right here along this dock. And then as we move on down, I found a little brush pile back in here. So probably another dock owner put a brush pile right there. So if you're a crappie fisherman, as well as a bass fisherman, those brush piles can always produce. Crappies even better than bass, but sometimes those bass love to set up on that kind of stuff. I've also got another pile right here. I couldn't tell if it was rock or wood, but some type of pile right here, and it's by a dock. So I'm assumed the dock owner put that there. And then this kind of caught my eye. There's something that's attracting these birds here. I think that's birds or stumps, or not sure what it is. I put some question marks out there for you, but check that out. It's on a point. It's got some trees around it. It's got some rocks back here. It's usually a good recipe. So take a look at least scan around there and see if you see anything. All right, so moving on down. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I did find a very large brush pile right here on the bank line, and I will definitely be checking this one out. It's right here, so it could be shallow, but when you look at it when the water's up, you can't tell that it's there. So my guess is it's in probably 5 to 6 foot of water. So that could be a pretty good area, and it's right on the edge of a point, which is really good too. Going back into a little bit of a cove or something like that. I've also got additional rocks here along this point. Didn't see much back in this little cutout, but I did see some rocks that were buried in here. I think those are rocks. At least it looks like it. Something's different about that area. And if I move that into a more current image, it's totally hidden. So that's either an old boat ramp that's like all busted up, or maybe it's a boat ramp and that image just didn't show it clearly, but there's some type of a hard surface that's right in here. So I would definitely be checking that out. All right, moving on down. Shallow rocks on this bank line right here. We've also got a boat ramp that's hidden back in here. We've got more rocks along this bank line, just in that area, about right in here. You skip all that, then you find some more rocks over here by this dock. Again, you got really good rocks around this point, so that would be a really good point to fish. You've got some rocks buried back in here behind this dock, kind of hidden off the beaten path. Those are always good ones to fish. And then you got some good rocks right along the edge of this point. Very shallow, but could be a good area to look at. It looks like you got some hard surface right in there too. So always good when you can find concrete rocks, something that's different than just the muddy bank line. You've also got some more rocks right here you can barely see along this bank line. And if we scroll down, got a real good brush pile coming right off of this little point right here. It's kind of out in the middle, and you can't really tell. You look at it on a normal image, you wouldn't even think to look for a brush pile out there, but there's definitely one right there. All right, moving on down. I'm gonna zoom back out here so we can see what we're doing. We've got a nice shallow flat here. Didn't see any white shell beds or birds sitting on here or anything like that, so I'm not sure if there's shell beds on that one. I didn't find much back here in these pockets. This looks kind of a mess, but I did see an old road bed that was back in here. So it's either a ramp or a road bed. I couldn't tell, but it sure looks like it connects, and it looks like an older road that may have been there a long time ago. You got the same thing here too. They're connecting, so my guess is they go under. There could be a hard spot right there in the middle that we don't see, right there and right there. So I would check that out, especially springtime. Ramp, you got a good ramp right here. You've got some rocks here, and then you've got some type of a pile that's right beside this dock that you can see. I don't know if that's a rock pile with some brush or what it is, but it's something big enough to where it's picking it up on satellite, so it's got to be a decent size, and it's right by that dock. And usually when you see that somebody put that there. You've also got an old roadbed here. I didn't mark it because I didn't see any concrete, so but it might be worth scanning maybe out in here and see if there's any type of concrete further out into the water that maybe we just can't see through Google Earth. The rest of this bank line, really kind of plain and dry, but look at that brush pile. Man, that thing sticks out from miles away. Somebody planted a huge brush pile right here by this dock, and I guarantee you can catch some crappie in that thing. You're not catching crappie, you're catching bass in it, catfish. You're going to catch something, because anytime you get a brush pile that big, that is golden. So again, looking at it in regular times, it's totally buried. It's not sticking up above the water or anything, so it's got to have some decent depth to it. And back to 2014, man, that looks really good. So brush pile there, good one. Boat ramp back in here. Another boat ramp back in there. Then you had a really nice shallow point. It looks like these are either shell beds or rocks or birds. It's always hard to tell on Google Earth, but I would come out here and I would check out this point and see what in the heck that is. Because it's something there, something that's different, and you can kind of see as we're going through here. If it looks different, I'm usually going to point it out. I'm usually going to go fish it too, because anytime it looks different, it's always a good area to fish. I did go back in through, actually not there, so that actually ends zone 2 right there. So I'm going to skip over and move over to the east side. Coming over here right off of this point, you see that we've got some flooded timber off here. We also got a high point here, but a lot of like flooded timber and laydowns that you could fish are off of a really good point. Looks like a really good area. It's got access to deep water. And again, if I look at it in a more current image, I would fly right by that. Wouldn't have any clue that that was there. So that's probably a hot spot. It's definitely a spot that I'm going to check out. I also found a few more things over here, a couple brush piles by this dock that look pretty good. Got a nice rock pile right out here off the edge of this point. It's nice and flat, and then this flat kind of comes out. This point comes out really flat. Has some hard spots right there on the top, and then it especially has a hard spot right up in here and right up in there. I would check out all those areas. This could be a primo spot because it's out farther away, right? They can go back here and spawn, and they can stop here on their way, either going out or coming back in. So take a look at that thing. I've also got some debris and brush piles here. You know, what's interesting about the east side of this lake is that the rocks kind of went away, and all of a sudden I started finding more debris and brush piles and things like that. So it was almost like I was looking at two different lakes. The west side was different than the east side, and the middle is different than the north and the south. So this is just a giant lake with lots of different opportunities. So brush and debris here, 3 different piles. Really, this whole thing just looks shallow and looks like it's got some good stuff to it. Again, looking at it on a current image, probably wouldn't even know that was there, wouldn't even bother to stop by and take a look at it. A brush pile right here off the edge of this dock, another brush pile that's a little ways away from this dock, a nice boat ramp back here with a good drop off. Look at this drop off that's back in here. I could see that being a nice little honey hole to go fish for sure. You've also, again, you've got another shallow point with some rocks up here and then some debris on the water. You can see there's some trees and stuff in here. Those could be good, especially the way they're setting up going into the back of that pocket. Really good rocks back in here. Somebody's got a nice house or something back in here, but got some real good riprap and rocks around both these points. I looked at the sandy beach. It looks like they have tires, or maybe those are just giant rocks, but they're barely in the water. So I don't think I'd waste my time running up there. Maybe if you were just running this whole bank line, hit that with some square bills or something, but those rocks are literally just barely touching the water. They're not even hardly in it. So I would probably skip that and move on up here. I don't know what this is, but there's 2 large rocks or some debris. I would check that out. I'll check out this debris here. This one here, when the water's up, you can see the tip of it, but maybe just fish around that stuff. It's something there. It's something unique. You've also got some more rocks here. And then on this section of the lake, I started seeing bigger, like boulders, which you don't see too many of those here in Texas, at least in this part of the state. But you did see some boulders down in here that are actually buried under the water when the rock is up. You got 3 big ones right here that are completely underwater when the rock is up, when the lake is up. And then you've got shallow rock along the shoreline as well that you could check out. So a lot of good stuff right in this area. Moving on back in here, I didn't see too much back in here, but I did see a boat ramp right there that looks like it's not used very much, and those are always good. The less used, the better to me. Rocks along this bank line, very shallow though. Rock and debris over here by this boat dock. It's just kind of hidden in here. You got to zoom in a little bit, but you can see it. It's right in here, and there's kind of just rocks kind of scattered all over the place. So maybe a good spot to look at there, but that one was a little bit iffy. I wasn't sure if I should mark it or not, but I went ahead and did it. This point looks shallow, but I didn't see anything on it, so I went ahead and skipped over it. And then we're going to move on up here into this pocket, or to this cove. So it did find some boat ramps right in here. It looks like an older boat ramp, probably doesn't get used much either. And then moving on up here, just a ton of boat docks. And then I finally found some rocks way up here that were hidden back behind this boat dock. So that's probably going to be good. And then look at here, we got 2 more brush piles. These guys probably knew each other, probably been neighbors for years, but they both have brush piles on each side of their docks. So you want to take a look at that. This is a nice, huge, like flats way up here. I did find a creek channel that runs up against these docks back in here. So you'd want to look at that. And then up here, you got an old ramp that's buried. It looks like it hadn't been used in forever. Those I did one of those on Lake Lavon one time, and actually Landon did, and he just had a heyday. I think he caught like 20-something pounds off one boat ramp that was just like that. So never pass up the old boat ramps. We've also got back in here a little bit of a creek channel that comes back in here, and this opens up to a really deep spot. So it was really interesting to see what in the heck this was. I can't really tell what it is, but I did see that there's a nice brush pile right here in the middle of it. So it might be worth checking those out, and then maybe coming down here and just doing some experimenting, seeing what's back in there, if you can get back in there. Moving on down here, there's a pile right by these docks. I don't know if it's this guy's pile or this guy's pile, but either way, there's definitely a brush pile right there, or some type of rock pile or something that they've put out there. You've also got another pile by these two docks, in between these two docks. You got an old boat ramp that's back over here and some nice contours here. But this boat ramp looks interesting. And then if we move on over here, we see another boat ramp that's up there. There's a brush pile back in this cove that you'll see, and it is huge. Look how big that brush pile is. Giant brush pile back there. Those are always fun to fish. Another boat ramp, and another boat ramp. I mean, there are boat ramps everywhere over here. Then we circle around the point. Let me take you out and show you where we're at right now. Right there. So I'm going to take you around the point, and guess what we see? We got another boat ramp, and another boat ramp, and another boat ramp, and a boat ramp, and a boat ramp, and a boat ramp. Apparently, they just like building boat ramps around here. So if you were going on a boat ramp run, we've got plenty of boat ramps for you. Another boat ramp here, a long flat point here that looks very interesting, especially come springtime, pre-spawnish. You got an old boat ramp back here that doesn't look like it's ever been used in a long time, and another old boat ramp back in here. So you got two more boat ramps back there. What's that, like 10 boat ramps along that shoreline? Another one buried back in here in this cove. And then you've got some shallow rocks that are really along this point. And this point looks fairly shallow too. And there could be some debris in here. I can't tell if that's waves or debris, but I went ahead and just marked the rocks to start with, just to kind of point out that, hey, you want to check out this area. Now, if we swing on around this point, this side of the point didn't really look too good to me. It has some scattered rock, nothing too crazy, but it looks like the rock really starts to get thicker right around in here all the way along the side. So I would definitely check that out. I would check out these rocks on this little point here. Some really good chunk rock around this dock right in there. And then moving on up, guess what we see? We got another boat ramp that's buried in here. And this one's interesting. It's like a little flat that's kind of back in here. Could be an interesting place to fish. If you look at it when the water's up, probably wouldn't even catch your attention, but when the water's down, it definitely does, because there's something unique about it. And then moving up here, we got another boat ramp, some more rocks around this point. And then here, I wasn't sure if this is, I know it's a shallow point. I can tell there's some rough stuff in here. I can't tell what this is. A little bit of rock up here, a little bit of hard area in here. I would just check it out, right? That's why I put a question mark there. Not sure what it is, but something about that says, hey, you should probably check it out. Got some rocks along this bank line. Looks really good. Some shallow rocks behind that dock. Shallow rocks along this point as well. Some additional rocks here by that boat dock, and some shallow rocks in here, as well as this area right in here. You can see the shallow rocks coming along there. And if we move back in here, we got another old boat ramp that's stuck back in here that you could fish, and a brush pile that's way back here by this dock, right here off the corner. And that is probably a good spot to fish as well. Looks like you got some good access, maybe even a creek back here or something coming in. We'll check a look at it on Navionics on the next video. Moving on up, we got some shallow rocks right in here. Another good boat ramp that's there. And then we got a brush pile way back here in the back of this thing. That's over here by this boat dock. So if you're up here in the springtime fishing these flats and these creek channels and stuff, take a look at that brush pile, see if there's anything setting up on there. Let me zoom out for you and show you where I'm at. I'm right there in the back. All right, so we're going to keep on moving. We're almost done. We got another boat ramp here. It's tucked in there. We've also got some shallow rocks off this point, and we've got some brush and some shallow, a shallow point coming off of here with some brush down there, and maybe even some hard areas. So those are always good to look at anytime you get those shallow points. Rocks along this bank line, and rocks along the entire bank line here. So basically just wraps both sides. This side's actually a little bit more dominant. It's kind of stops right here. So it's a good transition area right there. But then after that, it goes all the way down. It's about right in here before it ever stops. So lots of rocks to fish there. I got rocks along in this area. You got a boat ramp up here that looks like it could be interesting with some rocks around it. You've got some shallow riprap right in here on both sides. And then you've got a little, kind of rocky bank line. Probably doesn't go out too far deep, but it does look like it has some scattered rock on it, so it'd be worth checking out. And then again, you got some more shallow rocks or riprap along that area. And then you've got rocks that continue around this whole island. So basically it starts here and it just goes all the way until we get up to there where it says end of rocks. So we're going to move on up. We're almost done. Like I said, we got a few more. We got one more big cove to go, and we're going to be done, and we'll wrap this up and get these things out to you guys. So we got some more shallow rocks out here off of this point. You've got a boat ramp that's tucked in back here. Got more scattered rock, and more rock, and more rock, and then some more rock. All kinds of rock up in this area, but it was very scattered. So you'd have to, if you were going to focus on the rock pattern, you'd want to just hit these points, and that's it. You know, just troll to them, hit them, troll to them, and hit them. Just be consistent with whatever pattern you're doing, so you're not wasting time. So you got your shallow rocks here. You got more shallow rocks along that dock. More rocks. Rocks all along this boat bank line, and then you do have a boat ramp that's stuck in here. Looks like it's pretty old. You might want to check out. And another one was tucked under these trees that's back in here. Those could be good. And then another great point, looks like it's got some rocks that come off of it. Scattered rocks, scattered tires and stuff. I'm not sure what this was. This is an old marina or something, but look at all those old tires that are out there. Those bass love to get around those tires, so go out there and fish those. You could have a good time with that. Got some more rock along this bank line too. Moving up here, we've got some rock that's in like a deep pocket. So this was interesting because you got a deep pocket right here off the corner of this dock, and you've got some really hard surface right here, some rock or debris. You've also got some good brush piles back in here, two really nice ones there. Another brush pile here, and an old boat ramp that looks like it's barely used with some rock around it. So could be a nice little cove to fish. You've also got some scattered rock around this point. You've got some rock back behind these docks, but then you've also got two brush piles that are sticking out like a sore thumb right in front of this dock. So good crappie hole probably, and probably good bass spot too. Rocks along the bank line here. Couldn't tell what this is, but it definitely caught my attention. I think it's brush pile, so maybe just scan over it and see what it is. You got some shallow rocks back in here. I tucked back in these things. I don't see anything back in those. Got some rocks off of this point that look really good, and it's kind of shallow too. Look how scattered that is. So you got a really good area here that you could focus on for a while to give you some good fishing areas. Also got some rocks, some more rocks, and another boat ramp. That's there. And then we start getting into some better stuff. I started finding some more brush piles up in here. There's two really good brush piles right here. There's a nice creek opening right here, and then I also marked the creek channel. This creek channel bends right by this boat ramp, which is really, really cool. Anytime you can get that creek channel bending by the boat ramp or bending by anything, that usually is a good recipe for you. All right, so moving up, we see another brush pile here. That's what I was talking about. I started seeing a lot of brush piles there. Real nice brush pile here, some rock and debris on the bank, and rock back behind this dock too. So this whole dock area, this whole area right here would be a good area to take a look at. Got another brush pile hidden back behind this dock, as well as some rock, and then some more rocks just right along this bank line that you can see. It starts about right here and looks like it ends somewhere around that dock right in there. Scroll back out a little bit so I can see where I'm at here. We're getting up here, we're getting underneath Highway 198. Did have a boat ramp there with some concrete structure around those boat ramps and things. And then right here, there's just a really big drop off that I noticed here. It kind of caught my attention. So I would take a look at that. It's a concrete structure. It's got some really hard structure around it, and it's got kind of a wall there that they could hide behind or hide next to. So I would take a look at that without a doubt. Another brush pile over here by this dock. And then getting up in here, it starts to get a little bit shallower as we move our way up. There is an isolated brush or a patch that was right here. So you got some brush here and then some deep hole. I don't know if it's an old pond or something, but that brush looked interesting. Didn't see it when I moved the the image back up to being current. Found some more rocks here, like a little hidden rock pile that you wouldn't even notice. And then an old boat ramp that's tucked back in here. And another one back in here. These areas right here where they get really flat, I don't have a lot of success when that happens, but there's a boat ramp back there. I might go back there and at least try it. Two really good brush piles right here off the edge of this dock, so take a look at that. They weren't very good at hiding those things, were they? And then if we move on here, there's a destroyed dock. It's back in here. Again, this would be spring because look how shallow this is. But this dock right here has been destroyed completely and just left there, and it's still underwater. So that is that's better than a brush pile, right? So I would be going and checking that out. And then if you get back in here come springtime or come spawn time and you're trying to find that creek channel, you could always use these waypoints that will tell you where the creek channel bend is. So you got a bend here, and it kind of goes through here. And if we look at it and we move that image back down, you can definitely see where I marked these. Anywhere in those areas would be a good area, especially in springtime. And then if it gets cold or you have a cold snap or something, look to see if they pulled back into that channel or wherever those deep spots are. You've got an old pond that's up here, got another brush pile kind of sticking out there in the middle of nowhere. couple old boat ramps that are out here that you could fish, and then 2 more brush piles again right here off the edge of these docks. There's one on the right side and one on the left side of that dock, and then you've also got an old boat ramp here that's just kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and then a really long flat point that's stuck out there. I don't see anything on the edge of it or anything that that would make me really want to fish it, but it is a long flat point, so you just never know. Sometimes they'll gather there. If I look at it more through a more current image, that boat ramp's just barely in the water. I guess you got a little bit of room there, but not too much. And then that point, you can't even tell that point is there. All right, moving on up here, again, we got a good creek bed that runs through these trees. I don't know if you can get here or not via bass boat, but I'd give it a whirl. You got 2 little concrete slabs that don't look like they're under the water. Even when the water's up, you can still see them. But you've got a creek bed that runs right through here. This could be a kayaking area too if you can't get back here with the bass boat. And then the creek bed runs up here against this road, and then it tucks back in here in the back and goes back through those trees. So again, if we look at it when the water's down, you can see it pretty significantly. Cuts through here. Got an old pond back in here. Here's your road bed. Here's your creek channel. Got some more debris that's right out here at the mouth of this creek channel. That could be interesting. It's out here in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you look at this big old flat, there's nothing, and there's one debris pile or one brush pile. That's usually good. You've also got another brush pile over here, pretty big one that they put right outside of this dock you could check out. You've got an old boat ramp that's tucked back in there, and it's funny, this must just be really shallow because that looks way back there, but if you look when the lake's up, you can definitely get back there without any problems. So it must just be a shallower flat. You've also got a good pond dam right in here. There's a submerged tree that's back in here. If you go into this little cove that's back in here, you'll see that there's a submerged tree. It's right there. And when the water's up, that's totally under the water. You can't see that it's even there. So it's right there. That could be a really good spot. Man, so many spots to fish. I think we could fish here for 1.5 years and still not cover all these spots. So then we could go on, moving on down. We got another boat ramp here. Got a brush pile over here by this dock. That looks pretty significant. You've also got some brush and debris that's pretty far away from this dock. I'm not sure if this is man-made or if this was just there, but something pretty significant out there in the water I would be checking out. Then we got some more debris by this dock. It's probably another brush pile. And then you've got a really nice ditch that comes through here. See how this is deeper back in here? That's interesting, but it makes a really defined ditch right in the middle there. So depending on the season, that might be a place to look for them. You've also got some stumps and some debris that's over here, as well as a nice brush pile right here behind this dock or on the edge of the dock. And then some more ditches back here and another boat ramp that's tucked back in there. I believe, oh, nope, I got one more spot to show you, and that's it. There's some rock and debris that's right off of the edge of this point, and you can see it right here. We got some really big, like chunk rock or concrete slabs or something, and this is definitely a bass attractor. They will get up in here and hide behind all those rocks and things, so I would check out this point for sure. So again, guys, that covers zone 2 of all of the waypoints. I think I covered maybe 100 of them there. If you want them, just at Simplistic Fishing, send me a message. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give me your email, and I'll ship them over to you. Hey, until next time, tight lines. The next video, we're going to go into Navionics for zone 2, so stay tuned. Take care, guys.